With Amex Platinum,
Welcome to the Centurion Lounge.
you get access to the Centurion Lounge, so the sounds of vacation start before you get there. That's the powerful backing of American Express. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/withAmex.
This episode is brought to you by United Airlines. When you want to make the most of your vacation, book with United. They're an airline that cares about your travels as much as you do. United is transforming the flying experience with Bluetooth connectivity, screens, power at every seat, and bigger overhead bins to help fit everyone's bag. And with their app, you can skip the bag check line, get live updates, and more. Change the way you fly. Book your next trip today at united.com.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to Peak Northwest, an outdoors and travel podcast by the Oregonian and Oregon Live, dedicated to the adventure and exploration of our beautiful Pacific Northwest. I'm Jamie Hale.
And I'm Vicki Connor. Together, we take you to some of the most beautiful and interesting destinations in our region, discussing where to go, what to do, and places to see. And today, we're going on a little vacation in a very little vacation rental, all on the slopes of Oregon's biggest mountain.
That's right, Vicki. We are talking about tiny houses on Mount Hood, specifically at Mount Hood Tiny House Village. Let me ask you, Vicki, before we get into this, do you have any experience with staying in a tiny house, being in a tiny house? What do you got?
I have definitely stayed in some very small Airbnbs in the past. I don't know if it clearly is defined as a tiny home. It definitely isn't one of those like mobile tiny homes that I think we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
But I've stayed in some tight quarters before, that's for sure.
Those vintage RVs, pretty small. Some of your boutique hotels have some pretty tiny rooms. But we're talking about specifically tiny houses, just like you said, Vicki. You know, they're mobile. They build them on flatbeds. They prefabricate them, and you can take it out to wherever you need to be. And this company has these tiny house villages in places like Leavenworth, the Florida Keys, out in New Hampshire, and also, of course, on Mount Hood. So we were talking about just off the slopes of Mount Hood and Mount Hood Village. It's kind of near Welch's, Rhododendron, all those little communities that blend together between Sandy and Government Camp. So a pretty good location for this. My wife Sadie and I decided to take our baby Leona on her first overnighter. So for us too, this was like, kind of practice on what it's like to go on like a trip with a baby, which we'd never done before. So it was like a really interesting experience.
Yeah, I feel like for all of these episodes now, when you're out and doing stuff, I got to ask, did Leona go? Did she join? And what was it like? And I feel like, for bringing your kid along with you, this tiny home is like a great place to bring a newborn, especially before they start running around and you need a little bit more space.
It's true. We can really just still plop her down and she just stays there. She can't roll. She can't move, obviously not crawling or anything. So, pretty convenient for that purpose. At Mount Hood Tiny House Village, they have, several different, each one has its personality. There's I think 8 tiny homes. And they have little names Anderson and Ingrid and Atticus and Zoe. It's a little bit twee. It's charming. I think it's charming. And we stayed in a tiny house named Savannah. So it was yellow and it had some pretty little decor in there. And it was very tiny. I gotta say, it was very small. It had 2 beds. Technically, there's sort of a twin bed, tucked into a little twin bed sized alcove downstairs, and then there was a loft in which there was, I want to say it may have been a king bed, a larger bed, a queen or king bed up top in this loft, with those kinds of stairs where they're super narrow and steep, and you kind of have to walk up sideways, and there wasn't really a handrail, so kind of holding on to the wall or the stair in front of you to get up there, a little dicey, and of course had a little kitchen, and technically what you might call a seating area, but there was like, in some of these, there's like a tiny table and chairs, but in Savannah, she doesn't do it that. She just does a little like, it's to call it a couch is generous. It's like one of those sort of like, bench storage pieces of furniture where it's like padded, but there's no back to it. And it's sort of pushed up against one of the walls of the tiny house. And of course, there's a bathroom in there too with a shower and a flush toilet and that sort of thing. So that was our setup there. If that paints a good picture for you.
It paints an excellent picture. And I'm also looking at photos of it online as you go through this. When we're talking tiny, we're talking 175 square feet here. Yeah. But it does look quite charming. Is this a situation where you found yourselves like both of you standing in there, with the baby, of course, too? Were you having to navigate behind each other and be like, oh, right behind you and squeeze by? Or was there enough space to walk by just fine?
I would say there was just enough space. The harder thing for us was putting our stuff somewhere. Like we really quickly learned how best to utilize the space. Like we were going to take the lofted bed upstairs. We were going to sleep up there because it was bigger. Trying to sleep two people in a twin bed is crazy. I don't know when I would ever do that. It's like going home with like a boyfriend or girlfriend on to their parents' house, like when you're 25 and you go and stay in their childhood bedroom and you sleep in a twin bed and it's insane. Like we're not at that age. We needed like a real bed. So we turned that like smaller bed area into like a storage area. So I put like my camera bag in there and we put our diaper bag in there and like just stuff. We put stuff in there. There's like one beam going across the top that was like sort of like arm's reach. And so we really quickly could hang like, our pajamas on there or like clothes that we needed to reach. Like whatever pair of clothes we were going to wear that we weren't wearing at that moment went on the rafter. Just like I immediately was like, I need to unpack everything into a space. And then it was a constant process of like trying to like keep it all tidy because once there was like Leona's bouncy chair that she loves, we brought along, that took up like, you would think that we had like, like another full bed in there, that bouncy chair. The amount of like floor space this tiny thing took up in that tiny space was incredible.
Yeah. So does this tiny home have like normal plumbing? How does that work?
It's like an RV toilet. It's got water hookups. It's got one of those RV toilets where like, it's got a little foot pedal and you can like choose how much water goes into it to flush the toilet. It had, like a kitchen sink, a very, very small kitchen sink. So we were able to like, do all the regular stuff in there. And the first night we were in there. So we had 2 nights there. The first night our plan was to cook a meal for ourselves. So we brought along some groceries and we used this, they have an induction stove there, which I don't have a lot of experience with induction stoves. My God, they work so well. It's like so energy efficient, those things. So Sadie is sort of like the main cook in our family. She loves doing it. She's very good at it. I chop stuff for her. And she had some delicata squash that she'd roast in an oven, but she sort of pan fried the delicata squash and put it with burrata and chopped pistachios and pomegranate seeds. And we kind of ate it off a plate, like with forks, almost like it's nachos or something. And it did rule. It was insane trying to cook that in this little tiny house. Like there's no like hood vent. So we got to like open all the windows to make sure like it's not getting too smoky in there. The induction stove heats up so fast. So it's like really trying to keep up with it. But it did turn out great. And we pulled up a little stool that was in there and sat on this little bench seating and put the plate on a stool and we ate it like that. It worked.
I'm impressed. It looks like, I don't know if the weather was even nice enough for this, but it does look like there's a little grill on the outside as well.
Yeah, that's a thing. So, I mean, this is like, it's set up like a campsite. So you get the tiny house, but then outside there is a picnic table. There's a grill. There's a communal fire pit in between all of this stuff, all the tiny houses. So there's like a lot of stuff. So if you're there and like when it's nice out, like in the summertime, no problem. Oh, it's a little cramped in the tiny house, but you can hang out outside. No big deal. But because we were there in like the end of October, it was like dark and raining and cold up in Mount Hood. And so we were like not hanging out outside very much. After dinner, we did make a fire in a fire pit. There's no one else staying there. This is like a, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. So nobody was there. And we made a fire in the fire pit, and it was Leona's first fire,
Oh my
which is cool for her.
Was she mesmerized?
A little bit, but she was also like cold and not enjoying like the drizzle. So, it's a little bit mixed feelings about it, I think.
You're like, Leona, this is your future here in the Portland area.
Yeah. She'll learn to love it someday. But we had a lovely fire and just climbed up into our, lofted bed and got a pretty good night's sleep in there, all things considered. It is like kind of in the trees there in this campground. And it's a pretty cute spot, honestly. I did keep thinking like, gosh, if this was the summer, we could open the windows. It would feel a little more open here. But it did feel a little claustrophobic this time of year. That said, we still did enjoy it.
Yeah. And this tiny house village here on Mount Hood, it's been around for a few years now. Is that right?
Yeah, I remember going to see it when it opened. Like I did a story for the Oregonian when they first put these tiny houses in, and I like took a tour of all of them. And I don't remember exactly when that was. 2016. Google helps me here. So it's been 8 years or so since they put these in. It's an addition to the Mountain Hood Village campground. They have yurts, they have cabins, they have campsites. There's like a little sort of central hub where they have a camp store, and they used to have a little restaurant, but it appeared to be closed, maybe permanently. I wasn't really clear on that. We learned too late that there is a hot tub and pool there.
Wow.
It's one of those things where like Sadie was like, should we bring bathing suits? And I was like, no, we don't need bathing suits. And we got there and they're like, okay, so here's the code to go to the hot tub. And I was like, yeah, this has been perfect. So never again.
Did it seem to have changed much since when you went there upon opening?
No. I remember going into the Savannah tiny house to take pictures, and I was like, yep, there it is. Yep, just like it looked before. So it was really nice in there. It was like really nicely made. Like the craftsmanship of it was great. Like it got really nice and toasty in there very quickly. Like it wasn't drafty, it wasn't moldy. It was like new and nice and just very, very well put together.
Amazing. As always, I must say that at least 2 of these tiny homes are dog friendly, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And with like a very small, extra fee. I think it's like $10. So if you're looking to bring your dog here, you can.
There you go.
So y'all made dinner that night. Mm-hmm. What else did you get into while you were here?
So we had, it was a 2-night minimum, which is why we did 2 nights. We were just going to do 1 night and come back, but we had to do 2 nights. And so we took a second night there, and we had a full day then on Mount Hood. So we woke up the next morning, we made some, eggs and toast there on the induction stove. Again, very easy, very quick to make. Washing dishes in the tiny sink was a little funny, a little difficult, but that's all right. And so then we were kind of looking like, okay, what are some baby-friendly activities on Mountain Hood? We had thought about doing something like, let's go like make a picnic and go to Trillium Lake. But it was raining, and that seemed like not so fun. I know some Oregonians are like, a picnic in the rain, I don't care. We weren't into that, especially with like a very small infant. That wasn't like we weren't really in for that. But we did, before it really started raining, we took the stroller out to Wildwood recreation site, which is a great spot. I've been to before. Have you been over there, Vicky, to Wildwood?
I want to say I think I have. Like I can picture a sign for it. What did you all get into there?
There's a bunch of trails there. There's one that goes up to the wilderness, up to Huckleberry Mountain. And there's like some boardwalk trails that go down sort of along the Salmon River. But then there's like this pretty long network of paved pathways. And so our thought was like, well, we can do the stroller because she was still sleeping. Leona was sleeping, so we could just stroll her around that paved area of the park. And there's some good riverside viewpoints. There's a bunch of like picnic sites if we were going to do that, but obviously we did not. There's the underwater viewing chamber, which kind of shows you a little peek into the riverbed there, which is cool. You can see fish down there and stuff. Very fun. So like it's such a good family friendly spot because you can stroll, you can take wheelchairs, you can use walkers. Any mobility device is really easy to use there. It's all pretty flat. There's a couple small hills, and there's like a lot of space and cool stuff to see for kids who want to run around. So we were like, this is a perfect spot to go. We were, again, the only ones out there, but I shouldn't say the only ones. There were a couple of guys who were out there with leaf blowers, and normally I'm like a death to leaf blower guy. I don't like them. I think they're not great, but these guys were like literally walking in front of us, clearing the paved pathway with a leaf blower. And it was like rolling out the red carpet for us to go explore this park. It was so nice. Those guys were great. We thanked them and kept running into them everywhere we went. So it was really cool. And it was really nice, sort of gray, relaxing morning, walking along by the river with the fall foliage kind of coming in and the river rushing by. It was a really, really beautiful scene.
Yeah, that sounds so nice. So this was a day where was it raining at all or just a little trickle?
It had not yet started to rain at that point, but it was in the forecast. Like it was one of those mornings where like the night before it was supposed to rain, and then you wake up and it's not raining and the weather app says, oh, not until like noon or whatever. So we were like, okay, so we'll just get this in real quick, and then we'll go do some indoor stuff. And for us, we thought, well, what better place to be indoors on a dreary day than Timberline Lodge,
That is an excellent plan.
I still stand by my opinion that Timberline needs like a day spa, or somewhere in Mount Hood. We need soaking pools. We need saunas. We need a place you can get a massage. We need a spa on Mount Hood.
I'm so on board for this. Also, Mount Hood Timberline rather was supposed to like unveil the pool updates. Did that include a spa?
Not that I know of. It's okay. They have their heated pool that I believe is for guests only.
Uh-huh.
We'll have to take a look here in a second and correct ourselves if we're wrong here, but it's not the same. It's really not. I think I'm just going to go off a little bit here. Excuse me. Government camp, Timberline. It's very, very geared towards skiers, snowboarders, winter recreationalists, which is great. There's a lot of that. It brings a lot of money there. But for those of us who don't do that, I still want to go there. I still want to go find a great place to eat. I still want to go do something. I want to enjoy the snow. I want a good window. So it's not that they have nothing. We did go to Timberline. It did start snowing as we were driving up there. Like it started to rain on the drive. And then, when you kind of get up higher, the rain just turns to snow. Very magical, very cool. And we got to Timberline. We went up to the fireplaces. We got some mochas and sat by the fireplace and watched as they fed the big logs into the fire and watched the snow come down from the windows. Oh, it was so nice.
If only there was a big hot tub there.
I know. We would have stayed all day if there's a big hot tub there. But we got a little bit of lunch there. We got some hot drinks. Leona's first snow. So first fire, first snow, a bunch of firsts for that baby. Very cool for her.
How did she react to the snow?
Kind of nonplussed. She wasn't psyched to be out in it. Like we were walking, doing the stroller on ice was like not it. That was dicey. Did not love it. And she was kind of like getting the flakes in the face and was just like not. She was like, "What's happening? I don't know. I'm not so sure about this." But when we took her to the window and pointed and looked, I mean, she's 3 months old. She's just tracking objects, so it's not a lot of reaction. But she did smile and seemed to, enjoy being there in, our arms. So we'll call that a win.
Jamie, I am imagining once Leona gets older, you and her taking ski lessons at the same time at Timberline.
Oh, it'd be a great video, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing.
Oh boy.
So what did you do after Timberline?
After Timberline, we kind of just drove back down the mountain. Again, we were like, oh, maybe there's like some cool shops to jump into, but there's really not. We were kind of just scoping out spots to go eat for dinner later that night. That was kind of our plan. And then go back to the tiny house and unwind for a little bit and then go out to dinner that night. It was kind of a comedy of errors with our dinner situation. Originally, I'd really wanted to go to Skyway. Love Skyway, cozy, the fireplace, good barbecue, hot drinks. It was like perfect. It was Wednesday, so they were closed. I was like, okay, this other spot I've had my eye on, Koya Kitchen, which, the food has kind of like okay reviews, but the seating area seems to be very cool. All kinds of like indoor, outdoor seating with like funky decor and cool lights. And we're like, okay, well, let's go check Koya out. Maybe we can get like, a pre-dinner snack there and just go hang. We showed up, they're open. Interior is closed for renovations.
No.
Like that day only. We're like, okay, great. It's raining at this point. We're like, we're not gonna sit outside and eat. But there was it's okay because there's this great Indian restaurant called Naan and Curry. It's right there, right next to our Mount Hood village. I looked at some pictures, so bright and colorful inside, and the idea of eating like warm curry. It just sounds so perfect. I had looked up their hours previously, open every day, and either I got it wrong or they changed it last minute because we showed up and they were closed Wednesdays only.
No. You're striking out here with dinner options.
Striking out left and right. Could not figure it out. We ended up going to a place called Chicali Cantina, a Mexican restaurant and a strip mall just off the freeway of the highway. It was fine. It was very, very nice service. Everyone we talked to there was very good. We ate, some queso dip and some beans and chips and stuff.
I think I have been there before, and it's pretty close to that Indian restaurant, the Naan and Curry place.
It's like right across the street.
Yeah, I've been there before. Yeah, it's nice. It has like kind of like modern interior, light and bright. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a cool interior. It was packed. It was jumping because I think everywhere else was closed.
The one Wednesday spot.
Yeah, gosh. But we had a perfectly nice time. Leona was happy. We were happy. And we went back to the tiny house and had another night of sleep in there. We, put Leona, on a blanket and she fell asleep and we watched a movie. Like we crammed ourselves into like the little, the twin bed alcove and like watched a movie in there.
Yeah.
Pretending like it was a couch, but a couch that's pushed all the way up against a wall. You can imagine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. With like our feet up on the wall. So it worked out fine.
Was she okay sleeping in there and everything? And just, overall that first overnight trip, how did she do?
Just regular, like her regular routine just worked fine. She was not put off by being somewhere different, not put off by being in like a different bed, which is great. I mean, we have a real bring the baby philosophy. So like she has slept in friends' living rooms. She slept in like, booths at restaurants. She slept at like, we went to the Tabor dance once and she slept up there.
Oh my gosh.
We've really made it a point to be like, let's take you everywhere and, be out for a lot. And then she just can sleep anywhere now. So she was pretty chill. We're very lucky to have a baby who can sleep well. And so she did great.
I love that for you. I would have that same philosophy. Would you return to the tiny home village?
I gotta say, if I was to return, I would do it in a warmer season. I would like to have the opportunity to spread out outside of the campsite more, to treat it like camping, but instead of a tent, you have a tiny house. Then it's a luxury. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not just a tent, but a bed, and it's covered in all this. And there's a kitchen, all this stuff. In going in this sort of dark rainy season, it felt like a hotel room, but smaller, more cramped. So it felt like we were sort of losing something, with the exception of like, oh, we've got a fire pit, and that's really cool. Like we couldn't utilize a lot of the outdoor resources very much. And that was just a different kind of experience. But I mean, these tiny houses are very cool, very interesting. If you don't mind a little bit of a tight squeeze, it's a really cool way, in a different kind of way, to do a camping experience. I guess it's technically glamping is what we're talking about here. We haven't used the word yet, but it is a glamp, I suppose.
Yeah. I would love to go and try this out and stay at one of the dog friendly ones and bring Stella for sure.
You definitely should. I mean, why not? It's an experience. Everyone's going to have a different kind of experience. I mean, you and Stella, or you and Nick and Stella, like that's, there might be a very different experience than like a baby with all the baby stuff that we had with us.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine, because do they cap the number of people who can stay at one of the tiny houses?
There, each one has like a, sleeps a certain number of people. Okay. But like, it sometimes it's like, 5 people. Savannah, with that bed arrangement that I just described, sleeps 3 people. So they're talking like 2 in the bigger bed, 1 in the smaller bed. But like, if you had a couple of small kids that could share that little bed, you could probably get away with that, I'm guessing.
Yeah, for sure.
All apologies to the people who run this place if I'm like, encouraging people to like break the rules. But that's my observation.
Well, I'm so excited that you had that successful first overnight trip with Leona. I feel like that, is such a great sign for the future to come, and all the trips you have planned, whether that's for work or otherwise, and kind of like her start as adventure baby.
Yep, that's right. We're taking her on a train in November. We're taking her on a plane in December. We're getting things rolling here. You got to go to the beach still at some point. So we'll make it happen. One point of fact checking here. I said we come back to Timberline. They do have, in addition to the heated pool, a hot tub, a sauna, an exercise room as part of sort of that renovation they did. It does appear to be open only to overnight guests. So that is not a day use thing still. So what I'm asking for stands. We need a day use soaking pool situation, or Timberline, open it up. I'm sure there's very good reasons that they have it for overnight guests. Probably gets way too crazy and crowded. They want it as an amenity for their people. That's fine. I get that. But we need something. I want to go up there and soak with a view of the mountain. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask?
Someone will do it eventually. Who knows how long it'll take, but I have a dream for this.
If any developers are listening, we don't need credit here. Just do it. Just do it and we'll be happy.
Yeah.
Please. We're not the only ones. All right, folks, that will do it for us for today. But until next time, you can watch our videos on the Oregonians YouTube channel and view all of our travel and outdoors coverage on OregonLive.com/travel, as well as HereIsOregon.com.
Please leave us a rating or review if you enjoy the show. And if you want to support this podcast as well as our local journalism, please consider a subscription to Oregon Live. You can find details at OregonLive.com/pod support. Also, if you're a fan of the show and you're interested in potentially sponsoring it, you can get in touch with our marketing people at advertise@Oregonian.com. This episode of the show was produced by me, Vicki Connor, alongside Jamie Hale.
Stay safe and happy travels, everyone. Until next time, we leave you with this 10 seconds of Zen.